So friends, in the span of just 90 minutes, Donald Trump and his administration lost 3 federal court cases. But in one of those cases, Chief Justice John Roberts came sprinting to the aid of Donald Trump and his lawlessness. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, let's start with some good news on the legal front. Donald Trump and his administration is getting crushed in case after case after case. Let's start with the new reporting. This from CNN. Headline: for Trump, 3 court losses in 90 minutes. And that article begins: 3 different federal judges delivered legal setbacks and slapdowns to President Donald Trump in the span of an hour and a half on Tuesday in a series of cases challenging controversial moves taken during the early days of his second term. The rulings from judges in Washington, D.C. and Washington State are the latest to pump the brakes on Trump's agenda, underscoring the critical role courts have taken on for foes of Trump looking to frustrate his actions. You know, friends, I would phrase that a little differently. I would say it underscores the critical role courts have taken on to prevent Trump lawlessness. My editorial edition. The article continues. In D.C., Judge Lauren Ali Khan issued a preliminary injunction that indefinitely blocks the administration from freezing federal grants and loans. The ruling expands on an earlier block the appointee of former President Joe Biden issued last month, shortly after the White House ordered the funding freeze. Quote, in the simplest terms, the freeze was ill-conceived from the beginning. Defendants either wanted to pause up to $3 trillion in federal spending practically overnight, or they expected each federal agency to review every single one of its grants, loans, and funds for compliance in less than 24 hours. The breadth of that command is almost unfathomable, Judge Ali Khan wrote in her ruling. She went on to say that the spending freeze was irrational, imprudent, and precipitated a nationwide crisis. Shortly before Ali Khan issued her ruling, a separate jurist in the D.C. federal courthouse, Judge Amir Ali, ordered the Trump administration to pay foreign aid-related money owed to government contractors and nonprofit groups by Wednesday night amid the legal fight over the freezing of USAID and State Department funds. That order amounted to a legal reprimand after the plaintiffs in the cases repeatedly accused the Trump administration of not complying with Ali's earlier temporary restraining order that revived the funding contracts and grants that existed at the end of the Biden administration. Meanwhile, across the country in Washington State, a federal judge in Seattle issued a preliminary injunction on Tuesday that halts Trump's executive order suspending refugee admissions and funding. Judge Jamal Whitehead, who was also appointed by Biden, said that Trump's actions amount to an effective nullification of congressional will in establishing the nation's refugee admissions program. Quote, while the president has substantial discretion to suspend refugee admissions, that authority is not limitless, the judge said. And friends, just as quick as federal court judges essentially ordered the Trump administration to comply with its damn contractual obligations, pay the money you owe to contractors. The judges didn't put it in exactly those terms. Those are my words. But in substance, they told the Trump administration, just act lawfully. Just, abide by the contracts you entered into. Just as soon as they issued those orders, well, The Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts came in and said, no, not so fast. We're going to go ahead and pause all that and let the Trump administration, default on these contracts, violate the terms of the agreements they entered into with these contractors. A little bit of lawlessness by Trump and his administration is just fine by Supreme Court Justice John Roberts. Here's the new reporting on that from HuffPost. Headline: Supreme Court for now won't require Trump administration to release billions in foreign aid. The Supreme Court has temporarily blocked a judge's order giving the Trump administration a midnight deadline to release billions of dollars in U.S. foreign aid. And that article begins, the Trump administration said Wednesday it is eliminating more than 90% of the U.S. Agency for International Development's foreign aid contracts and $60 billion in overall U.S. assistance around the world, putting numbers on its plans to eliminate the majority of U.S. development and humanitarian help abroad. The cuts detailed by the administration would leave few surviving USAID projects for advocates to try to save in what are ongoing court battles with the administration. The Trump administration outlined its plans in both an internal memo obtained by the Associated Press and filings in one of those federal lawsuits Wednesday. The Supreme Court intervened in that case late Wednesday and temporarily blocked a court order requiring the administration to release billions of dollars in foreign aid by midnight. Wednesday's disclosures also give an idea of the scale of the administration's retreat from U.S. aid and development assistance overseas and from decades of U.S. policy that foreign aid helps U.S. interests by stabilizing other countries and economies and building alliances. In the federal court filings Wednesday, nonprofits owed money on contracts with USAID described both Trump political appointees and members of Musk's team terminating U.S. aid's contracts around the world at breakneck speed without time for any meaningful review, they say. The nonprofits, among thousands of contractors, owed billions of dollars in payment since the freeze began, called the en masse contract terminations a maneuver to get around complying with the order to lift the funding freeze temporarily. So did a Democratic lawmaker. Quote, the administration is brazenly attempting to blow through Congress and the courts by announcing the completion of their sham review of foreign aid and the immediate termination of thousands of aid programs all over the world, said Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. But U.S. District Judge Amir Ali's order to unfreeze billions of dollars by midnight Wednesday will remain on hold until the Supreme Court has a chance to weigh in more fully, according to the brief order signed by Chief Justice John Roberts. That's right, friends. The U.S. government made commitments to contractors around the world to provide certain funding. And now Donald Trump swoops in and just says, yeah, we're just going to default on all of those contracts. Just pull the carpet right out from underneath all of those people and organizations to whom we made commitments. Kind of sounds like the way Donald Trump did business as a businessman, right? Stiffing his contractors left and right. But ordinarily, the courts could step in and hold Donald Trump accountable to the contracts he entered. But the U.S. Supreme Court? No. Chief Justice John Roberts said, we're just going to go ahead and endure and endorse, at least temporarily, Donald Trump's lawlessness, his refusal to comply with contracts the United States entered. You know, friends, Donald Trump is not only making us the laughing stock of the world, he is damaging the very ability of the United States to do business around the globe. Who in the hell is going to trust the word of the executive branch, the federal government, when not only is Donald Trump willing to, for no damn good reason, default on our promises and contractual obligations, but when he's got a handful of Supreme Court justices who are willing to put their stamp of approval on Donald Trump's defaults, his corruption, his lawlessness. This is not sustainable for the United States of America. And it's up to us and our elected officials to do everything we can to make sure this does not long stand. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.